Now, if this was your son, your brother, your father, you would demand answers too. And as taxpayers, we all have a stake in this. My entire career, I've dealt with law enforcement officers, investigators, and prosecutors who hide behind their power with their only motive being to avoid bad press. I mean, why? After 16 months, why can't the FBI or the Justice Department reach a conclusion about whether these officers were justified or not? Open investigation? What new evidence is going to fall from the sky and crack this case? And if you feel bad for the Ghaisar family, think about Eric Garner and his family. Let's take it back to July 2014. Garner, here, put in a chokehold and killed by NYPD officer Daniel Pantaleo on a Staten Island sidewalk. Almost 5 years later, Pantaleo is still on the job, yet to face any disciplinary hearing from the NYPD. And the New York Times says federal prosecutors still haven't decided on any charges after almost 5 years. Now, we universally agree that our civil rights in this country are of vital importance, and these crucial decisions should be handled carefully and deliberately, but also as quickly as humanly possible. Inaction is injustice. So let this family, let the public know what's going on instead of dragging this thing out and not telling anyone why. Now, I want to know what you have to say about this. Talk to me on Facebook and Twitter. You can find me at Adam Longo TV. So let's take the next